Okay, so that's you're aware of that. Mm-hmm. Welcome, welcome to our early birds. We will start sharp on time. Give it a few more minutes. Mm-hmm. Welcome, welcome. Got a few more minutes. And we are going to be live streaming on LinkedIn as well. So welcome to the LinkedIn attendees too. I think we are also streaming on YouTube. So really welcome. Everybody's welcome. Very excited to have you. A few more minutes and before we start. I know we also have a lot of people this morning who decided to register to have the recording. So as they listen to the recording, we'll also say welcome to them. Welcome, everyone. All right, welcome, welcome. I think we are going to start. Welcome. So as I said before, for the ones that would just join us, we are streaming today on multiple platforms. So that's we're excited about that. So not only will we have our attendees on Zoom, but we also have attendees on the platform. So today is an Exportia Lab. I'm co-hosting this lab this month with Martin. Thanks for joining me and co-hosting this lab this month.
Glad to be here.
Thank you so much. And so the topic of this lab is selling successfully in Europe with e-commerce. This is the episode 1 of a series of 4. And our special guest and my co-host is Martin. And so I'm going to talk about the series, and then Martin will take over and he will talk about Euro exchange and protecting foreign exchange risk when you do e-commerce. And he's also going to talk about cash flow risk management. So I will do a quick introduction. So an exciting number. In 2021, 71% of the European Union population is buying online. It's a massive increase from pre-COVID. Pre-COVID, it was 64 in 2018. So that's, for us exporters, it is a great opportunity to break the barrier to export. There's some new people on this lab today that I've never seen, I've never met. So I'm just going to introduce myself very quickly. I'm Christelle. I'm the founder of Exportia. I'm also an author. The 4 Steps to Generate Your First €1,000,000 in Sales. My second book was awarded Best Australian Business Book in 2020 for sales and communication. Writing my third book. This is my team. We have an office in Europe. Obviously, we're all about the European market. And an office here in Sydney where I'm based here today. Our aim is to help our customers generate their first €1,000,000 in sales and go beyond that. And I started the business when I migrated from France to Australia in 2006. So let me tell you why. Let me give you 3 reasons why we are doing this e-commerce series. The first reason is the e-commerce, as you know, e-commerce has accelerated during COVID. We all know everybody was online, buying online, but this trend is really here to stay. So it's a new sales channels that consumers have adopted. So the habit is there, but also businesses have adapted their infrastructure. They have the infrastructure in place to sell online, and that's here to stay. So that's why it's a major trend. We cannot overlook this trend. Reason number 2, e-commerce lowers the barriers of entry for non-EU businesses. So we have South African businesses, we registered, and we have also Australian businesses. So non-EU businesses, it opens the door for you to the European market. And let me share with you that figure. So 21% of all online purchasing done in the last 3 months of 2020 were done from non-European companies. And if you look at some of our favorite markets, if you look at France, 22% of the purchases were done from online shops that were outside the EU. Germany, 23%, 25% for the UK. So you see that Europeans, when they buy online, they don't mind if you don't come from the European Union. It is a new opening for any business. Reason number 3 that is very close to my heart is using e-commerce lowers the barrier as well to do B2B business. So according to the International Trade Administration, which is an American organization, European B2B sellers are really optimistic on e-commerce growth, B2B, through 2025. And that is a big trend. I have discussions with some European distributors, large multinationals in the B2B sector, in highly technical sectors, and they say our sales are done, 65% of our sales are done online. So that's a very big opportunity for B2B, not only B2C. B2C has led the way in e-commerce, but B2B is growing very fast. All right, these 4 episodes. So we're doing episode 1 today with Martin, who I'm going to leave the microphone and the stage to, foreign exchange and cash flow. Episode 2 will be around how do you manage European VAT? How do you declare it, even if you're a non-European business? Episode 3 would be about the third-party logistics. If you're selling online, do you want to set up some logistics in Europe? Episode 4, how are you going to keep your traditional channels happy if you go online? Okay, I'm leaving the microphone to you now. We're starting episode 1. And Martin, up to you. I'm going to go on mute.
All right. So good morning, everyone. And a big thank you to Christelle for having me. It really is a pleasure to be here for episode number 1. So my background, specifically for the past 20 years or so, is FX, international payments. I spent 10 years dealing and trading with ANZ, and 4 odd years ago had the opportunity to come across and set up the Melbourne office for Ebury, who are a global outfit. We're across 25 countries and we've got 30 offices across the world. So it's a pretty exciting growth business. But what I want to do for you today is, I guess, break the quick chat up into 3 sections. I'll give you a little bit of a snapshot around one of the clients that we deal with. Then we'll move into sort of how the Ebury products have worked for them, both domestically and internationally. And then I'll finish off by touching on, I guess, the currency movements and how they've affected the client. So the client themselves, Ocean Beauty, they import, so that they manufacture a collagen product here in Australia. They import the raw materials from Japan, and they sell both here domestically in Australia as well as online in the US, UK, and in the last 18 months or so, the European market. So what can Ebury, or what has Ebury done for the customer? Look, we've been able to help them in multiple areas. First and foremost, where it all starts from them, they need to source the product from Japan, as I said. So we've actually, part of Ebury's product is an unsecured trade finance facility. So we help with the cash flow of the business. We pay the invoices on behalf of the client, and they have their cash flow cycle up to 150 days then to pay us back. After they are manufactured here in Australia, and they're then sold online across the various countries, another of the Ebury products is being able to capture the sale proceeds in bank accounts we're able to provide these customers. Now, some businesses have currency accounts with various banks around the world. It's an onerous task to have multiple platforms and have to get on a plane and go over to these countries to set up an account. Ebury's technology enables the customer, or in this case, Ocean Beauty, to have 4 bank accounts, all on the Ebury platform, domiciled in each of the countries. So they've got a US dollar account based in the US. They've got a pound account based in the UK. They've got an Australian dollar account here in Australia, and the European account is actually based in France. So they're all in the company's name. They've got IBAN numbers, BSB account numbers, sort codes, and they're live accounts. So as I said, they're sitting on their various platforms, e-commerce platforms, Amazon, their own websites, capturing the payments, which enables them and us to work alongside managing the risk, or I guess the currency strategy, if you like, going forward, both paying away to Japan, but also repatriating the funds back to Australia. So I guess moving on to the currency side of things, just to give you some examples, they pay away in US dollars to buy their product. Now, the Australian dollar in the past 12 months has traded between 76 cents and a fortnight ago down at 71.80. Now, that's nearly a 20% price difference or currency movement in the past 12 months. Now, if a client doesn't manage that correctly, that can have a significant cost to the business. So to give you an example, a container in April this year of their raw material, let's say the container cost 100,000 US. It was costing them 131,000 Australian dollars. Now, a fortnight ago, when the rate was down at 0.6180, that same container was costing them 160,000. So that's a 30,000 difference on a container of goods. So we've been able to implement a currency strategy for them for their purchasing, and I'll go into a bit more further detail around the euro repatriating the funds as well. So any company that has exposure to currencies around the world, whether they're receiving funds or paying funds, it's really important to manage the cash flow, have a risk management strategy in place, and that's something that I am able to offer, I guess, the clients. So more specifically to the European customers and what this customer does with their euro dollars. So selling online in Europe now, they're collecting a significant amount of money. And I'll use the example again of repatriating $100,000 at a time. So in October 2021, the Aussie euro rate was at 0.6180. In April this year and also September this year, we haven't seen it for a long time, but that was up at 70 cents. The Aussie euro was actually higher than the Aussie US. So repatriating $100,000 of sale proceeds back in October last year, that they were receiving 161,000 Australian dollars. Now, in April and September this year, that same 100,000 euros for the products that they'd sold, they were only getting 142,000 Australian dollars. So again, selling the same product on the same platform, there was a $20,000 difference or a 20% difference in the funds that they were repatriating. At the moment, the currency is at around 6.64. So that 100,000 euro that they're selling is worth about 156,000 Australian. Now, from a currency strategy point of view, this is a very simplified one, but you know, we will tailor these to all the customers depending on their wants and needs. But back in March, we put a hedge in place or what we call a forward exchange contract for the client. Now that was at 64.50. Now in that time, the currency is traded between 64.50 and up to 70 cents and back. We're pretty much back to where we started now. But for 6 or 8 months now of the year, the client has been up to sort of 5 or 10% ahead of the market. So they've managed their risk strategy that way. Yeah, look, with anything like that gives you a bit of an example around the severity, the volatility of the market at the moment, and the importance of managing both the currency point of view, but also ticking back to what Ebury is able to provide. You know, that the access to these bank accounts around the world, even when you are selling overseas. So without going on too much further and confusing you too much with all my FX jargon, I'll probably leave it there, and we'll push on and head towards the question time. I know Christelle's got a little challenge for you all before we start that.
No, that's all good. All right. Yes, actually, you're right. I have a challenge for you before we go on to the question. The question is, the challenge for you is in your businesses. I know there's B2B businesses, B2C businesses. Plant the seed in your business and try to imagine how would your online shop would be if you didn't have one. And also pick a benchmark. Pick a major manufacturer or a major competitors of yours and observe what they're doing on their online shop and check if they have one, and try to start to plant the seed in that project. I think for SMEs, it's really time to leverage the European opportunities offered by e-commerce. It really breaks down a lot of barriers, gives you a lot of information, a lot of intelligence on who's buying, what they're looking at, what product. It is so interesting. I think it is a very good asset for you to build on. So now I would love to be able to open the floor and have the questions about foreign exchange. And so feel free to ask questions on the Q&A. There is a little Q&A chat there, so feel free to ask your question.
If you want me to jump in with a Q&A while everyone's thinking about their questions, Christelle.
Yes, because I know you have quite a lot of experience with, you know, presenting, and yeah, just share with us some of the common, you know, frequently asked questions that people.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, a couple straight off the bat. I guess a lot of people that haven't dealt with the likes of an Ebury probably think, oh, okay, so what's the cost? How does it work? I guess from the outset, there is no cost. There is no cost become an Ebury customer. There's no cost as such to set up an account or the platform, to send payments and that sort of thing. Ebury, our core business is an international payments company, risk management. We also do the trade finance and the currency accounts. They're all encompassed with the platform itself. So, preempting, if there were any questions around the cost of it, you don't have to put your hand in your pocket to be an Ebury customer. Put it that way.
Okay.
Another one I get asked quite a lot, and unfortunately, even being in this game for 20 odd years, you know, where's the currency going? Where's it going to be tomorrow? At the end of the day, with all the experience that I've got, I don't know. I spend a lot of time doing charting. You know, there are a lot of fundamental reasons why currencies move around. Various currencies move around. You know, Australia is very much a commodity-based country. So commodity prices drive the Australian dollar against the likes of the euro, the US, the pound. Naturally, there's a lot of conversation around inflation at the moment. The Australian inflation isn't fully under control yet, but it's going okay. But the US dollar probably drives a lot more fear in the market around their inflation and not being able to bring it under control as yet. And when things aren't going overly well in the market, when there's fear, when there are things like what's happening over in Ukraine and wars, often you'll find there is a retreat to the US dollar, and that often has a ripple effect into the other currencies. The US dollar, gold, things like that are seen as safe havens. So often an economy like in Australia can be going well. We might raise interest rates, which traditionally is pointed towards a currency increasing against other currencies, but then something might override that, like a war or another country's inflation at the moment. So it is very unpredictable. I guess what I'm alluding to there is no person, whether it be myself with 20 years experience or the next person, really knows where it is going to be tomorrow. So that's where the risk management for a business is just so important, because you just don't know what's around the corner. No one saw COVID coming, and there were a lot of people that were caught off guard when the currency moved, you know, 5 and 10% in a week. You know, hopefully we never see anything like that again. But you just don't know. So you got to make sure you've got the right risk management tools in place and the right protection. And that's whether you're paying way overseas or receiving funds in the case of exporting to Europe.
Thanks. We have our first question, so we're going to jump on them. So we have a question from Damon, who's asking, so he's saying basically we are an Australian-based ebook and online products, and our prices are in Australian dollars, but we want to market internationally. Where do we start? So what are the first steps?
Is that a question for myself?
If we want to work with you, what do we do to protect our, you know, we're just selling AUD at the moment, but we want to market internationally. How do we start to sell in euros?
To sell in euros? Well, I guess it's a case where, you know, you'd probably have a chat to Christelle and organise the manufacturers, and once that flow starts happening, it quite literally is a conversation. We sit down, we might have a look at some forecasts. We might see if you're buying in Aussie dollars and selling in Europe, you're going to be receiving euros. So what does that mean for you over the next 3 or 6 months? You know, is it going to be 10,000 in the next month? Is it going to be $1 million? Is it going to be 5 million? What price or what exchange rate is going to be important to you? Because like I said, we're at 63.16. We're at 64 today. You know, what impact to your business is it going to have if it goes up? What impact does it have going down? So it very much is it's a one-on-one conversation around not so much trying to predict the future, but more so working with you with your forecasting as to what it looks like and what are the best and worst case scenarios.
Modeling a little bit what's likely to happen, the impact.
Absolutely.
And if we're very practical, how quickly does that take you usually to work that out? set up the system in place?
To become an Ebury customer, look, it's not dissimilar to setting up a bank account, I suppose. We're in the money movement game, so there's a lot of sort of hoops we need to jump through to make sure that we know our customers, KYC, anti-money laundering regulations, and things like that. But
Yes.
there's an online application form. We need to identify the business, beneficial owners of the business. Nothing that anyone won't have been through before if they're running a business. Look, we generally turn that around in a week or so, providing we've got the right documentation in place. And then you've got access to the likes of myself. We've got 4 offices around Australia now.
Yeah,
Melbourne, Brisbane.
We have Cheyenne as well on your team in the chat. If you want to, Cheyenne, if you want to say hello, and people can chat to you as well.
Absolutely. We wouldn't be here without Cheyenne and Christelle. So again, we the Ebury family, we really appreciate this opportunity.
Yes. We have a question from Nell, and he's saying basically, is there a minimum value of business in dollars to become a customer? Do you need to start to have some kind of transactions going, or can you just
it's a good question. Traditionally we service, I guess, existing customers that qualify in the SME space.
Yes.
Generally it's there's $1 million in turnover and up. It's a conversation. To warrant, I guess, the setup from an Ebury point of view, I guess there probably needs to be that sort of transaction. I do have some contacts in the industry if you're literally starting out and you're about to send your first dollar, that might be worth a step beforehand. But we're probably looking at that $1 million and up.
Okay. All right. So any other questions? Thank you for your questions, everyone. Any other question? I haven't seen any on the chat yet. So feel free to continue asking questions. And we'll respond to them. In the meantime, while you're thinking about your questions, I'd like to introduce you the rest of the series. So episode 2 will be how to comply with the new European VAT rules around selling through e-commerce. That will be episode 2 with one of our partners based in Europe, an accounting firm. Episode 2. Episode 3 will be around organizing third-party logistics. If you are a manufacturer and you want to dispatch your goods very quickly to your European customers, that might be a good way to look at it. That will be 6th of September. And then there will be a 4th episode, which I've just added because I think it'll be interesting, is how you keep your traditional channels happy when you have an online shop, which I think is a topic that is interesting. Was there anything else? Neil is coming back with a question, which is great. Can you please explain the benefit to paying to an offshore account as compared with the USD Euro account in Australia? Is there any benefit?
Yeah, look, it is. That is a great question, actually, because I guess the banks here in Australia, I'll use NAB just as an example. Don't want to pick on them, but I'll use them as an example. That they will provide customers here in Australia with a foreign currency account, whether it be euro, pound, US dollars. What we find is, they're quite costly. Quite often, they can charge up to $100 a month to have the account.
Yes.
More often than not, you'll see a transaction fee for funds going out and certainly funds coming back in. The banks are quite good at clipping the ticket along the way there. And the other thing you'll find from a timing point of view is to have a local currency account here in Australia, let's say with a NAB, they are an Australian bank. They're not a European bank, or they're not a US bank. So therefore, the bank the effective bank account isn't actually held here in Australia. It's held through an intermediary account overseas. So if someone was to pay you to your Euro account with the NAB, it actually goes via a third party or an intermediary bank to get here, which generally will add up to 24 hours and potentially a fee through that bank.
That's where the fees are starting to
absolutely
go up.
So it might be $7 or $10 to accept the funds here at the NAB, and it might be a $20 fee for the intermediary bank that they use to be able to house your euros. So I guess from our point of view, due to the global banking network that Ebury has, the bank account you'll have will be domiciled in that country, or in this case, Europe. It'll be based in France, so it'll effectively be a domestic transfer in that you'll receive for the payment of your goods. And so that will, if it's not instant, it'll be intraday as opposed to waiting for a couple of days. So there's a cost saving, and there's definitely a timing benefit from using a bank accounts that are in your name with your own account numbers, IBAN numbers, sort codes, based in those countries.
Yeah. And I guess it's quite important that those transactions go very quick when you have an e-commerce site, and it's quite important that it doesn't last too long and people see exactly where that the transaction has been processed.
Absolutely, yeah. And look, we come across this a lot. Often it's a case of what you don't know, you don't know. Everyone's got a bank account, everyone's got a banking relationship. So therefore, the default is to use your bank. But there are other ways, and the technology that Ebury is able to provide is quite literally a market leader. We had a couple of the big banks over in Europe, Deutsche and Citibank, some years ago, trying to actually buy our technology because their platforms were a bit clunky and they wanted to plug us in. So thankfully we held out from doing that.
Yeah, excellent. All right, so sharp start, on time finish, everybody. That's a 30-minute finish. So I'm going to wrap up. Thank you so much, Martin, for making the time, and Ebury. I think it's good to know where to go if companies need to open their e-commerce site. They know how to get paid in euros and how to protect their risks. So I'd like to thank you for sharing this.
Thank you very much for having me.
My pleasure. It was great to have you. And everyone, we are also launching very soon. Stay tuned, an exporters community. So stay tuned, you'll be invited to join. And I would like to thank you all for your time, and I will see you at the next session around the one-stop shop VAT, the new VAT rule around e-commerce when you're a non-European business. So I hope to see you then in November. Thank you everyone for attending. That was a great attendance actually. And I'm very happy that we had you. Thanks so much. Thanks, Neil. Thanks, Damon, for your questions as well. See you everyone. Bye-bye.